kids wait for a foster placement for 8 hours. To offer and to teach us. This organization and the people involved continue to blow me away, and I cannot wait to see how that cultivates in Hamilton County. I invite you to come June 16th at 10 a.m. to Chambliss Center for Children to witness the groundbreaking for our construction. And I am going to stay a bit after the service in case you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't think I need to say much. The offering will be gratefully received. I have been the foster parent picking up a kid with a trash bag. This is a real thing, and the idea that this could be softened in our county is amazing. Thank you so much. Please join me in our offertory response that can be found in the order of service and the mission on the back. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings. And you have a treat today. You don't have to listen to me the whole time. So Dylan, I'd like to invite you up to start our conversation about consent, please.
Good morning. I've been asked to just share a personal story about the issue of consent and talking about consent amongst ourselves and with young people in the world. I don't think it's talked about enough in an age-appropriate setting. But I wanted to I'm very fortunate right now to be working as an adjunct professor at UTC, where I'm teaching Intro to Film. And I showed a piece of film by the great Hong Kong director Wong Kar-wai. The movie was called Chungking Express. And I showed it for the purposes of demonstrating some cinematic techniques to my class. But the piece of footage that I did show them involved an intimate episode between a man and a woman in the man's apartment. And after I was done showing it, I had a student approach me privately and say, I didn't feel comfortable with that. And I said, why? And he said, because I don't believe that that episode that we saw depicted in that film was consensual, and I didn't think it was appropriate to show the class. Now, at that point, I had a choice to make as an adjunct professor. I could either get very quiet and hope that that went away and went, oh, sorry about that, or I could say, what a fantastic opportunity to talk about the issue of consent and the consensual episode between two consenting adults with a classroom full of freshmen and sophomores at UTC. So I did that. I sort of cracked that open with everybody, and I said, has everybody here heard of FRIES? F-R-I-E-S. And they all said, what? And I said, you see, this is why high school health classrooms, I believe, in addition to talking about the biology of reproduction, should also spend a day or two on the issue of consent, because I think we should all know about FRIES. Because if an episode meets the FRIES criteria, then it is a consensual episode. FRIES. And I had them write, I wrote up the letters up on the board, and I said, F, freely given. Consent must be freely given. R, reversible, meaning that the consent can be withdrawn at any time. If it can't be, it's not consent. I, informed, meaning that if we both agree to a certain set of rules to our sexual episode, then we stick to those rules. You do not say that it's a safe sex episode and then it becomes unsafe in the middle of it. That is not consent. E, enthusiastic, meaning not coerced, not shyly okay, it's enthusiastically given. And S, to me, is the most important, I talked about with my students, specific. You can agree to one thing without agreeing to other things. So, after we had the conversation about FRIES, we moved on to talking about cinematography and editing, but I had several students stay afterwards, especially some young women in the class who said, thank you very much. It was nice to have that talked about in a group setting so that we all are on the same page and we can all feel heard. But I was asked to just share that story because I shared it with the Reverend personally recently, and she said, I like that story, so I'm sharing it with all of you today. And so, FRIES. FRIES.
FRIES. I don't need that. So I was at the Mountain Retreat and Learning Center in North Carolina, and there were a group of ministers gathering to learn about the subject of play. And as we stood together to break the ice, we formed a human machine. It was much rowdier than what you experienced earlier. The first minister who got in line imagined that she might be a choo-choo train. And so she was going, chick, 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 chick. And I watched her as more and more people connected with her, building the machine larger and larger, and I watched her face become kind of red. And I watched her wear out, and I started worrying about something I knew. I knew that she was suffering from long COVID. I knew that she was having problems with her respiratory system because of catching that. And what I knew in that moment, observing play, is that there are a lot of opportunities for us to understand consent through play as children. When we ended and reflected on that, I went up to her and I said, "Do you think you could quit?" And she was like, "Nope. I sure didn't. If I quit, the machine would break." How many times have we asked folks to volunteer for something without making explicit that they can quit? Remember, reversible. Not quit the stewardship campaign. Come on, that's the opposite. You need to give lots of money. But quit something that is making you uncomfortable. Quit something that you know someone else is better at. There is an amazing author. Her name's Jacqueline Friedman. She's been picked by the Jewish Federation as one of the top authors in the country, and she wrote the book Yes Means Yes, Visions of Female Sexual Power and a World Without Rape. She also most recently wrote a book that I think I love the title of, Believe Me, How Trusting Women Can Change the World. So, believe me. Her podcast is called Unscrewed, and it's paving the path for sexual liberation among women. It was named the best sex podcast by both Marie Claire and Esquire. Check her out. As an undergraduate, Jacqueline thought that she was too smart to be sexually assaulted. She was studying human sexuality. She thought she knew what was going on, and she was proved wrong, unfortunately, by another student. The experience eventually led her to become a student instructor in impact safety. That's the stuff that Dylan just kind of shared with us. I think it's wonderful to have this conversation on college campuses. It's important. But it almost feels like it's too late by the time we're there. In her book, Yes Means Yes, A Standard of Sexual Consent, is inspiring laws across the United States. In the U.S., compared to Canada, not everything's better in Canada, but the maple syrup and their laws about consent are pretty cool. In Canada, the laws of consent not only recognize verbal cues, but also body cues of non-consent. Here in the United States, many times we are facing laws from people who perhaps blame the victim because of how they were dressed. It's implied consent. She was dressed a certain way, or he was dressed a certain way. They were in an environment where they should have expected that. Consent is an active yes, though. It's not just a cultural assumption. And how can we use consent in our everyday lives to make it more of the everyday conversation? And then I thought, how have we changed since COVID with consent? 3 years ago, y'all would have barreled in the door. We'd all been hugging and all over each other, shaking hands. Not the current way that we are behaving, which is pretty respectful. When you say, "Are you still hugging?" It's an invitation. It's an opportunity to say no. What if you went in for the hug and it was kind of creepy? Okay, I'm out, right? It's retractable. Jacqueline wants to change the world. She wants to bring this message of consent not just to college campuses, because that is definitely a specific socioeconomic group. She's working to bring this into everywhere. She's saying, stop, please, are actively into whatever's say stop, please, if you're not actively into whatever's happening. That's just human responsibility we have to each other. It's not about gender, she says. Ultimately, it's all about all of us. If we're decent human beings, we want to only do things intimately with people who want to be doing them. So, this seems like a strange place to go, but I want to bring this down to early childhood education. And I looked at the Harvard study on consent at every age. If you look it up, it's really cool. It breaks down the age groups. And when I looked at early childhood development, I recognized having a little gaggle of preschoolers in my house and how teaching boundaries at that age is when we can do it. You develop a shared vocabulary. Raise your hand if you've talked to a 4-year-old about consent. Yay! All right, a few of us have. We need to talk about that. Would you like a hug or a high five? What about when a 4-year-old is watching us, saying that to each other? They're learning. They learn by example. One of the teachers in the study by Harvard said, I want kids to just have muscle memory of being able to say no if they feel uncomfortable or leave. Just practice their whole life. A clear vocabulary with children that is understood. Lay the social emotional groundwork. Emotional intelligence, perspective taking, and empathy is what we're talking about with kids that age. These allow you to basically understand your own feelings and the feelings of others. And that's a foundation of respect. And here's one that we struggle with. Teach the child that it's okay to express hurt. Stop crying, you're fine. Get up. When I was growing up, brush it off. You're all right, brush it off. Your feelings you could brush off. Your skin knee you could brush it off. What if instead of saying brush it off, we would be like, hey, how are you feeling right now? Can I give you a hug? What's going on? Be more engaged. Be more curious. Understanding consent can empower children. Like I said, would you rather have a hug or a high five? It seems to me that by teaching consent and talking about human sexuality openly, we can really get ahead of this. We are in a time in our life where women's rights are a little concerning, would be the nice way to say it. A little concerning, a lot concerning. The idea that someone without our permission could look at our medical records, our husband could help decide about our medical records, that's what's in Roe v. Wade. It's not about specifically abortion, it's about access to medical care, access to medical records. What if in high schools we were not teaching abstinence only? What if we were teaching about consent instead? We cannot teach abstinence only and teach a child their boundaries at the same time. How, if we're pretending like sex doesn't happen, how are they going to be prepared to say no? And so they're being taught in school that it's okay for people to have agency over their body. I am not okay with that. We have got to work together in this church and get our OWL program going. We have an opportunity to save lives in Chattanooga. Our Whole Lives is a sexual education program that runs from birth to death. Because you know, we have a whole life, right? Understanding and be honest about the fact that we're sexual creatures, and that is like biologically kind of why we're on earth, is to have more biological creatures, right? It's the circle of life. But being responsible and caring and loving in that means that we don't feel coerced. Now, some of us have power over other people, let's just admit it. As adults sitting in this room, we have power over many people younger than us. If somebody is intoxicated, we have power over. If somebody doesn't learn the same way, we have power over. Be very thoughtful about your power over people. I have a really good example, and it has to do with all of you. You're going to be amazed. About a year ago, we were on Zoom, and I was having you all draw. And we drew like an X, and it was this long thing, and at the end of it, I said, okay, I want you to write these numbers down. And I said 5, 7, 1, and I saw everyone's head down writing. And I continued to blurt out my phone number so you would all have it. I thought it would be a good way to have you all write my phone number down and not argue with me about it and just have it right there. As I watched you write my number, I became overwhelmed with the idea that that was not consensual. I became overwhelmed with the idea that I had power over in that moment. And recognizing that, became very careful about what I said to people as a direct order, and very thoughtful about how that was not consent, in my opinion. Consent comes into our lives all day long in all different places. Be thoughtful about your actions with people. Be thoughtful about the power dynamics of who you are. Be thoughtful about being there to defend people who might not have the same power and authority you do. Consent is tricky, but it's important. And if it becomes part of our everyday vocabulary, we're not going to get into situations with our government like we're in now, where we're having to fight for our right. Just think, if women's bodies, if all people's bodies, if trans bodies, if queer bodies, if all the bodies were respected, black bodies, Hispanic bodies, everyone was respected and understood how to say no, we could be in a much safer world. And I know we can do that in this church. We're going to get Al going, and y'all are going to help me, right? We're going to teach our children by example and respect them and not just tell folks what to do. Let's work on asking, and let's work on remembering when asked that if we're not comfortable, it's okay to quit. Thank you. All right. Now is the time in our service, and I changed the order of service around a little bit. I just wanted to give us a light place to land at the end. Kind of intense conversation. I want to remind you that we have a pastoral care team here. Pam Johnson back there, myself, Wendy Sapp is downstairs. If you have any big feelings or anything you need to process after today, please come to one of us where we would embrace you with that. The meditation is called Embodiment in Sexuality by Seth Carrier Ladd. Spirit of life and love, may we find appreciation today and in our lives for our embodiment. We are physical creatures, mind, spirit, and soul housed within our bodies. Our bodies, our physical form, allow us to experience the world, to taste chocolate chip cookies fresh from the oven, to touch the warm smoothness of a baby's skin, sight the blossoming of color of sunrise and sunset, sound the laughter of friends and family, smell the aroma of fresh baked bread. In particular today, may we find gratitude for our sexuality. May we be grateful for and appreciate our gender identity, our sexual orientation, our physical selves. May we appreciate the pleasure, the intimacy, the connection that comes with and is part of sexuality. May we also remember that for many, sexuality can bring a variance of emotions, shame and sadness, trauma, anger, pain, and hurt. For all the joy and goodness that embodiment brings, it also has challenges, aching joints, long-term health conditions, severe illnesses, and more. Today, we honor our whole selves. We also honor the whole spectrum of sexual experience, holding the joy in all their richness and the sorrow in all their fullness in our hearts. I invite you now to come forward and light a candle for the joys and concerns that you're carrying with you this week. And I just really appreciate having a space to express all of this. Thank you so much. you, Steve. Thank you all for sharing with this community. I believe Dylan has what we call a closing song, although we have some more stuff to talk about. So.
Buckets of rain, buckets of tears, all these buckets are coming out of my ears. Buckets of moonbeams in my hand. You got more love, honey, baby, than I can stand. I've been meek, strong like an oak. I've seen pretty people disappear like smoke. Friends will arrive, friends will disappear. If you want me, honey, baby, I'll be here. I like your smile and your fingertips. I like the way you move your hips. I like the cool way you look at me. Everything about you is bringing me misery. Little red wagon, little red bike. I know you no monkey, but I know what I like. I like the way you love me strong and slow. I'm taking you with me, baby, honey, baby, when I go. Life is sad, life is a bust. All you can do is do what you must. You do what you must do, and you do it well. I do it for you, honey, baby, can't you tell?
So what? Which I love. I would love us to read fries together. If you have it on your order of service, please join me. Consent is freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. Share this with folks you know. Take this with you. You can tear it off. You don't have to have my name on it. And I just wanted to express gratitude to Planned Parenthood for having this resource and all kinds of wonderful stuff. Also, Harvard Department of Education, look up consent per age group. Great, great. I'll try to get that in the newsletter in a couple weeks. And it's time to extinguish our chalice. Judy, can you come help us? And join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. And it is the favorite time, announcement time. Oh, sure, but we need a microphone. Do you have any announcements, Dylan, before I steal your microphone? Okay. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Selena, I know you're here. You have some exciting news. I hope so. Oh, congratulations. That was a little coercive. Here you go.
I really just have an announcement about Wednesday. Oh yes, okay. Don't forget our first and third Wednesday coming up, because it's the third Wednesday. Thank you. It's coming up. All right, of May, I think. Anyway, but we keep having these really lively conversations. We've been focusing on environmental justice, or the environment generally. It's morphed into different things as weeks go by, because it's just a great group of people meeting on Wednesday mornings who have fabulous ideas. So if you haven't joined us before, please do come. If you've been before, come again. It's Wednesday from 10 until 12. We're going to continue on this idea of developing a vision for our community in terms of how we work toward environmental justice. One thing that came out of our last meeting was a longing for a forum to start up again. Okay, no one said amen, but that's all right.
Amen.
I'm not in the Methodist Church anymore.
Okay. What is forum, Selena?
Oh, what is forum? I'm glad you asked. So forum is part of our adult religious education in this church. Traditionally, it's been a meeting at 9:30 on Sunday mornings before the worship service, where there have been also fabulous discussions, great speakers coming in. We need to start it all over again, so that there was a little bit of a push last time at our Wednesday thing to do at least a summer series. So far we have 6 speakers lined up for the summer. So I'll get back to you about when that'll start and the timing of things and so on. But we're going to be really focused on environmental justice, and people from several organizations that are both local and regional will come in and talk to us about what environmental justice means for the Chattanooga area and what our part to play in that is as well. So anyway, I'll keep you posted on that. But don't forget, in the meantime, you can come on Wednesday from 10 to 12 and enjoy some coffee. We're going to pay close attention to the COVID numbers and the weather at the same time. So potentially this coming Wednesday, we're going to be outside also. But just so you know, we're going to try to be as careful as possible so we can gather together, but be smart about it also. Have I spoken long enough? All right, here we go.
Selena's taking our church over. I'm kidding. You have one more thing? Oh, yeah, you could, yeah.
I'll take it to you. Okay.
Oh.
Yes, very good, thank you.
Oh.
My accomplice? Yes, all right.
Wow.
It's a parade. Yeah. All right, good morning, good morning. Okay, I'm Lynn Higgins. This is Carol Hobbs. And we are getting ready to do an autumn project for Art on the Walls, with autumn as the theme. And this is 3-dimensional, but well, not really totally. Dimensionality, not just flat things. It can be wall hangings, it can be quilt type things, it can be collages, mobiles, all sorts of stuff. And we'd like to have a meeting of anybody creative you use here, right here in the sanctuary afterwards, after service, for just a few minutes to discuss this and see what your ideas would be about doing this. So we'll meet you here right after service.
Oh, Carol wants to say
Carol
something.
wants to say.
We want your creativity displayed on our walls this fall.
Exactly. You remember how good we did the Dove Project a couple of years ago. This will be equally stunning. Yes.
And if you don't remember, the doves are awesome. I have any more community announcements? Yep. Jay, you want to go or? Okay.
See, I told you you'd be hearing a lot of me from me this year. Just a reminder, if you don't know, next Sunday is Flower Communion, and we're doing this in person for the first time since the pandemic. We did a virtual drive-through one last year. What that means is that if you come to church, bring a flower or several to share, and we'll be exchanging them during the service in a ritual called flower communion. And you'll learn more about what that is during the service. If friends or people you know aren't here today, but you know they're coming next week, remind them, share the news. Flower communion, Pam Johnson and I are planning that together. So please come, please bring flowers. They can be from the side of the road, they can be from Publix, they can be from anywhere. Just get consent if it's from your neighbor's yard. But please do come enjoy Flower Communion. It's one of my favorite services, so I decided to make it happen. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Today, right after church from 1 p.m. through 5 p.m., come visit the Chattanooga Free Store and come meet some of our local activists. We got free food, we got music and games, we got free clothes. 1 through 5, 1701 Dodson Avenue, Suite C.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. That's cool.
Totally mutual aid and everything.
Yeah, free store. That sounds great today. Can people ask you if they didn't remember after church?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ask Jay. Any other announcements from the community? Okay. See this big box? It's sad. It needs your pledge cards in it. It needs your pledge cards in it. We have so much going on here. This church is waking up and doing new things. We need to be able to plan a budget for next year. We need your help. The more, we know y'all are generous and give a lot, but when you give a pledge, we can plan our year out much better and understand how many times we're going to have to make you do fundraising projects. I wondered if you were listening. You got it. Speaking of fundraising projects, if you are interested in fundraising, please come see me after service. I need some help. And that, Dylan, do you have something amazing for us that I should give you the microphone back? We can sing our way out. I'll just sing our way out. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This was a wonderful day. Thanks for coming, and we can't wait to see you again.
Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. And if I had a day that I could give you, I'd give to you a day just like today. And if I had a song that I could sing for you, I'd sing for you a song to make you feel this way. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. Sunshine almost all the time makes me high. Sunshine almost always. Thanks, everyone. We also get a round of applause for Steve Hollingsworth, who played such beautiful piano music for us today. Thank you, Steve.